Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. Hey everyone and welcome back to Planet Gook. Today we're continuing our look into Terrahawks with Season 3, and I'm already pretty burnt out. Once again, if you missed the previous parts, Terrahawks was a British TV series from the 1980s, featuring puppets as characters. It was notably produced by Gerryanderson, known for plenty of other TV shows, as well as Christopherburr. The evil Zelda and her children are trying to take over Earth, with the Terrahawks trying to put a stop to them. As much as I may seem out of it at this point, I've actually been enjoying the show quite a bit. Season 1 mostly played it straight and was kind of meh most of the time, but Season 2 felt like a massive improvement with new characters, settings, and in general embracing this absurdity. It certainly isn't a perfect show, but with the improvement from last season, I'm cautiously optimistic. So anyway, quick disclaimer. Alright, let's begin our look at the final season of Terrahawks with episode 1. Well, that was certainly interesting. If you remember back to the end of last season, you'll know that Sistar announced that she'd be having a baby.
A baby!
So it's not too surprising that this episode revolves around that.
The sun, great giver of life. It is not surprising many civilizations, including we Japanese, recognize its majesty.
Can you confirm your forecast, hero?
The Terrahawks detect a solar flare while on the moon, and decide to ride with it to Mars to bypass Zelda's sensors. And while all of this is happening, Sistar is about to go into labor.
Sister is going to have the baby!
Zelda goes to operate on Sistar, but doesn't let Young Star in for some reason.
Are you deaf as well as mentally retarded?
Jesus Christ, it was a different time. This was 40 years ago, it was a different time. The Terrahawks eventually make it to Mars and plan to explode Zelda's base, but they soon learn of the baby.
You can't! Someone or something in that complex is about to deliver a new life. We can't take innocent life!
Yeah, let them give birth, and then you can kill them. Einstein decides to abort the mission as Sistar finally gives birth. What the hell is that thing? We're then introduced to Itstar, who is not a boy or a girl, but a goy burl. Itstar has two personalities, with the feminine side being just a baby girl,
I'm frightened, Uncle Youngstar.
and the masculine side being a German military man bent on destruction. Did I stutter?
What's wrong with the front of yours, you slobber schnitzel?
The Terrahawks then fire a warning shot and escape from Mars while destroying a few Zeefs along the way. So yeah, not the most exciting episode to start the season, but I don't think it needed to be. They introduced a brand new character, plus it was cool to see the Terrahawks on Mars again. Alright, let's move on to episode 2. We go from one unexciting episode to another pretty unexciting episode. This episode is pretty much a way to further the character of Itstar, and while it does do that fairly well, not much of anything really happens here. We find out that Itstar has mastered the art of making bombs, and tests their first one on Youngstar. Zelda then sends two of their bombs to Earth, with one blowing up an officer and another above a gas line in the desert.
IRS, income tax.
About that $2,000 cash? I meant to declare it. I'm going to declare it. Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow.
Stu commits tax evasion. The night suddenly becomes day, as Mary and Einstein check out the second bomb. Also, Youngstar and Itstar made it to Earth and seemingly had zero problems getting there. What is Hero even doing? Mary then gets into ground tank to investigate the bomb, and shoots it? Awkward stop motion. But it was a dud. Turns out that Itstar managed to corner Einstein in with an avalanche, with the only escape being through a minefield.
Use the escape capsule.
All right, Tiger. I've never disobeyed an order. Tiger, malfunction on escape capsule.
But Mary manages to escape by driving through it.
She's clear. She did it!
All of that elaborate planning resulted in absolutely nothing. And yeah, that was pretty much the entire episode. Not much else to add. Out of all the episodes this season, I, for the life of me, cannot remember anything from this episode. Just nothing here was all that memorable. Except Stu cheating on his taxes.
Wowee!
But hey, I'd take this any day over that Christmas special where the entire thing was just a dream at the end of the episode. Hopefully we don't see anything like that ever happen again. First of all, if my voice sounds raspy, I went to a concert last night, so sorry if my voice sounds like shit. And secondly, episode 3 is certainly an episode. ItStar has created a machine that can override Earth radio with pre-recorded messages, and goes with Youngstar to an abandoned space station to operate it. But Zelda won't let them leave alone, as they must leave with Captain Goat.
Ha! Ahoy there, you swabs! Call me Captain Goat.
This show got too much of a budget. When they board the space station, Youngstar and ItStar man the radio equipment, while Captain Goat stands there and looks out the window. No, seriously, that's all he does this episode. In fact, while I was writing the notes for this episode, I wrote, "Why the hell is this guy here?" a total of 6 times. Anyway, they play a message from Zelda through every radio station on Earth, causing the Terrahawks to investigate. After the Terrahawks jam the radio signals and ItStar fails to fool them with his feminine side, we get straight up pirate warfare. Since Space Hawk is stronger than the older ship, Youngstar chooses to flee, while ItStar and Old Goaty decide to go down with the ship. But after taking one look at the pirate dude, ItStar goes with Youngstar instead.
I'll warp the planet.
How are you falling if there's no gravity? Also, Zelda reclaims him, so there was 0 point in any of that. So yeah, fine episode and all, but why was Captain Goat here? This is the only time he appears in the entire show, and they did absolutely nothing with him. Well, he must have been significant enough considering they put him on the spine of the Volume 4 DVD. They chose this dude over like half the main characters. We start the episode on Mars, where Youngstar is running away from home? Well, that makes sense. After all, Zelda is his deepest secret fear. But ItStar catches the escape, and feeds him a party meal, including a mysterious powder. Okay, kids, if any person, let alone an infant android, offers you a mysterious powder, run. As Zelda wakes up and catches Youngstar, we find out the powder is made of graphite, which could allow Zelda to track Youngstar wherever he goes. Zelda decides to let Youngstar leave for Earth, knowing the Terrahawks will inevitably capture him. Youngstar then makes his way to a restaurant, where he eats the menu. My god, this dude's a dunce. He's then arrested by Sheriff Bull, and Einstein's alerted by the news.
Alright, we'll pick him up. I'll let them know you're coming.
But before they pick up Youngstar, Einstein gets a peculiar phone call.
My name's Harry Salzburg.
You're in films, Mr. Salzburg.
Sure, I'm a producer.
Then we may be able to do a little business.
Cade is then sent to pick up Youngstar, who is taken into Hawknest. And now that Youngstar is in Hawknest, Zelda knows the exact location of the base, so she sends hundreds of missiles in its direction. However, this isn't the actual Hawknest, but a fake set built by Harry Salzburg. Gotta admit it, pretty good twist. So the Terrahawks f*** out of there, the studio is destroyed, and Youngstar is dead. My god, I just thought he was disgusting. I didn't want him dead. But like everyone else in the show, Sistar fixes his circuits, and Youngstar is brought back to life. Well, everyone but 13, Harry, Mark Darrell. So yeah, I think Runaway is the best episode of the season so far. It had a good premise, it flowed pretty well, and had a pretty good twist ending. My hopes were going down with the first 3 episodes, but I really enjoyed this one, and I hope the rest of the season continues on this level. Now, throughout every single episode of the show so far, there's been one thing missing. Politics! Kate is being followed home by an ominous car, and once Einstein joins her, the entire military surrounds them. All those years of Zeroid abuse finally caught up to him. In reality, this force is led by General Ripcord, who we learn has forced the government into making him the leader of the Terrahawks.
And I'm relieved of my command? Let's say someone's been putting over your head.
He's built a new space station called Great White 1, and plans to fly it to Mars to destroy Zelda himself. And if it wasn't already obvious, Ripcord is extremely power-hungry and thinks he can never lose. I don't see how this could go wrong. Zelda notices their approach, and enlists Ram, Lord Tempo, Yuri, and Youngstar to help defeat Ripcord. As they get closer to Mars, Ripcord reveals that he plans to kill Zelda with a nuke. Yeah, kill Zelda and make Mars even more uninhabitable. Great idea. Einstein flies to Great White 1 to stop Ripcord, but he won't budge.
They have the ability to control matter, bend time. They'll hit back, and hard.
I've met you bleeding heart types all through my career. Liberals, Conchies.
Oh, Jesus Christ. The Zeus begin their attack on the military, and as they launch their own interceptors, Yuri and Tempo use their powers to avoid their attacks and destroy every single interceptor.
Call it off. I didn't back down. I won that football game.
This dude is nuts. After Ripcord goes extra nuts and threatens to kill everyone on board, Einstein performs a coup and finally calls for retreat. Once again, I enjoyed this episode a lot. It was a pretty different concept for the show, but I think it worked out pretty well. Ripcord better be fired for this shit, though. There is a lot to unpack here. So the episode starts with Zelda recording something, then there's a random explosion from a bomb Itstar made, then Itstar has a Terminator doll, then Yuri's back. He and Youngstar fly to Earth and bend Spacehawk's guns, and land on Earth. And keep in mind, we're not even 5 minutes into this episode and all of this has already happened. The Terrahawks arrive and drop Battle Tank, which Yuri disables and gets into. Then Youngstar gets back into the Zeef and crashes into a mountain. This shit is going a million miles a second. Turns out that Yuri has one of Itstar's bombs, which he leaves in the battle tank as he parachutes out. Zelda's recording from earlier is played inside Hawk Nest, which warns them of the bomb, while Yuri uses his powers to lock everyone inside.
Alright, okay, what's happening? Okay, I'll tell you.
I can't hear a thing up here.
This is what I think of you, man, and listen, I think you are a great, fat, stupid...
What the hell is even happening anymore? I feel like my ADHD is getting worse. Kate then shows up in camouflage with Hudson, and spots Yuri outside the base. Einstein then climbs up a huge ladder to the White House, where he shows up with a f***ing bazooka. Mary is then able to open the doors, and drops Battle Tank into a forest. And that was episode 6. I need another shower. This felt like they had a 40-minute episode planned, but they had to cram it all down into 20 minutes. It's a good episode, but my god, this felt like every MrBeast copycat video ever. Alright, now that ADHD the episode is over, episode 7 probably has the most interesting concept of the entire show so far. Itstar manages to hypnotize Youngstar into a statue. Zelda clones him, and teleports it to a museum on Earth.
Yeah, Charlie, think you better get down here.
Once the Terrahawks learn of this, they close off the museum, take the Youngstar statue, and explode it. Wait a second. That is definitely not the same statue. Looks like something you'd find on a cursed image subreddit. Zelda then clones both Youngstar and Sistar into statues, and teleports them again to the same museum. What the? The Terrahawks once again investigate, but can't destroy them until later. Mary then returns at night, but Youngstar's got a gun! Youngstar demands the location of Hawk Nest, to which Einstein gives the location of an old abandoned mining facility. Once Zelda realizes they've been fooled, Youngstar threatens to kill Mary, but Zero comes to the rescue.
And destroyed.
So yeah, another really enjoyable episode. That fake Youngstar is gonna haunt my nightmares though. I am running out of places to record these. This episode also has a weird concept behind it, as the entire episode follows not Einstein or Zelda, but Stu. After waking up from a dream where Stu clearly has the hots for Kate, we meet Stu's mother.
You stick to tea. Mummy knows best.
Wow. I feel something really weird. I feel bad for Stu. Stu then blows through a stoplight and slogs through a day of work, before going to Pete's Eats, the restaurant that Youngstar went to. Is this the Waffle House of this universe?
FBI, open up!
No, that's not what actually happens. Here's what really happens. Of course, the staff believes Stu is behind this carnage, and is then arrested for it. Once his mother picks him up, he experiences a dream with Sheriff Bull on bass and his mother on drums. Once Stu gets back to work, he has a mental breakdown and speaks with Kate.
Last night, I saw a UFO, But because I'm me, no one believes me, man. And it's just because the way I am,
I believe you.
How can we miss something that big?
Ah, there they are. The Terrahawks then begin an operation at the UFO's location, and blast it out of the sky as Stu, Kate, and the restaurant staff watch it all go down.
What in the space fire and damnation was that?
Oh, well, that's just a UFO object thing,
This episode didn't have much substance compared to the show's general story, but this still felt like a nice change of pace. Stu certainly isn't my favorite character, but it was still nice to see him fleshed out and not just be an annoying side character. Alright, after the hot streak of good episodes, We unfortunately reach another dud in my opinion. We start by following a group of astronauts as they survey some asteroids. New fear unlocked. As the monster brings the probe down to the moon, we find out this was Zelda's work.
We wait for our plan to hatch.
Einstein and Johnson then meet to discuss the matter at a restaurant where Kate's singing.
Hey, you were the heckler, man.
You got a problem? You're a bum.
That was satisfying. Einstein and Mary then head to the moon, where the monster finally hatches.
Power loss.
Another new fear unlocked. The two escape with auxiliary power, and where the monster becomes more powerful by absorbing metal. So in a decision nominated for Worst Decision of the Year, Einstein sends 0 and 18 to seek out the monster.
Patron, I am being pulled down! Throw me a line! Oh no! Save yourself! Au revoir, Patron!
Wow. That was the most courageous thing anyone's done in the show. That must mean 0 saves the day, right? 0 is then absorbed by the monster. Well, at least he tried. However, since both 0 and 18 increased their masses, they somehow survive and destroy the monster from the inside. This certainly wasn't a terrible episode, but the plot just wasn't all too interesting. Not to mention, this Cyclops thing felt a little unimaginative. I mean, you don't get much character design in a big, giant glob. So Lord Tempo's back. We start off by following Mary, where Spacehawk is destroyed. Zelda finds their base. Kate dies. Einstein dies. But don't worry. It was all a dream. Turns out this dream was implanted by Lord Tempo in an attempt to have it become reality. He instead sends the dream to 0, even though Einstein said Zeroids can't dream, to which 0 takes to it. Zelda then launches her entire fleet, while something strange happens back on Earth.
Give me your name and rank.
Yes, sir. I am ready to answer your questions.
When did you last have a checkup, Sergeant Major?
Name, 0, rank, Sergeant Major.
Everything electronic is now delayed by 8 seconds, which would allow Zelda's entire fleet to bypass Spacehawk.
I'm attacking the Terrahawks spaceship!
Leave it, you cretin! We can destroy it later.
Once Einstein catches on to this, he resets all the power, which brings the Zeroids back up to speed.
Firing now.
They must have beaten the Time Warp.
Lord Tempo then brings them all back to Mars, and everything was back to normal. Sorry if it seemed like a rush through this episode, I just hate it when the show deals with time. I mean, imagine if this video, and the entire show for that matter, was all just a dream. Yeah, that would be a stupid ending. The last 2 episodes definitely weren't the strongest, but I think Space Giant makes up for both of them. We start off in a mining facility on a random planet, and as the miners complain about their wages, a Spirilla appears. Oh man, that thing must be huge. Never mind. The miners then take the Spirilla back to Earth and sell it to a circus.
15,000? You said we'd make $1 million.
I know what I said.
The Terrahawks soon learn of this and head to the circus. The great Alonzo tries to tame the Spirilla by probing it, but Zelda gives it more strength. There's a reason most circus tents don't look like that.
No!
And he's dead. Don't mess with Spirillas. The Terrahawks eventually arrive at the scene and track it down to a warehouse. The Zeroids distract the Spirilla while Mary comes in from behind, but the Spirilla notices and grabs the tank. Hawkqueen then arrives as we get a full King Kong reenactment, but the Spirilla lets Mary go. Props to the guy in the suit for taking that fall. Einstein calls for the Spirilla to be destroyed, but while Mary pleads for mercy, Zelda reclaims it.
Zelda reclaims her own.
I've now seen all but 2 episodes of the show now, and while I could be immediately disproven, f*** it. This is my favorite episode of Terrahawks. This felt perfectly paced, there were plenty of different settings, and I loved the absurdity of the dude in the Spirilla suit. It's not the most exciting episode, but I think I had the most fun with this one compared to everything else. Also, where the hell was its star? The episode begins with young Star thinking the Terrahawks are coming, when it actually is
A hydrologist of infinite cunning.
Zelda and young Star enter a ship that is literally a sheet of ice, where we meet a new villain, Coldfinger.
Zelda, I greet you and bid you welcome.
Why does his voice sound like a crappy PA system?
Water is the lifeblood of the entire universe.
I think it's stupid.
Well, that's certainly one way to deal with haters. Coldfinger then sends a space berg towards Earth, and Hero fires at it. And now you have hundreds of smaller pieces of ice headed straight towards you. Smart. Spacehawk somehow survives with barely any damage, and Zelda's pissed at Coldfinger.
Farewell, you frozen freak!
We then find out that Coldfinger was responsible for every ice age, and goes rogue by sending 10 more Spacebergs. Ninestein and Mary then head to Spacehawk, where they begin their defense.
Open fire!
However, Ninestein sees how the increase in water can cause another ice age, seizes fire, and heads straight for Coldfinger. You're giving this dude an organ when Lord Tempo literally had a vampire voice?
I will send a time probe.
The ice ship has an energy shield preventing the Terrahawks' missiles, but as they keep hitting, the ship starts to melt. Yeah. Guys. Coldfinger, the episode, not the villain, is another enjoyable episode. It wasn't as adventurous for me as the last one, but I still had a good time with it. Wait, where was its star? And now we have reached the final episode of Terrahawks. Normally to get sentimental, but I just want to get this shit over with.
Zero, where are you?
I'm coming, sir.
Something's off with him. Turns out that Zero missed his recent checkup, so Ninestein forces him to go to the Zeroid sickbay. We then see other Zeroids like 64, 27, number 13?
You're number 13, aren't you? Always said it was an unlucky number.
He's alive! Zero then goes to sleep, as we transition over to Mars, where Zelda's entire fleet leaves for Earth. Then for whatever reason, 101 can't communicate, and lets the entire fleet in as they head for Hawknest.
The first thing I want to know is how in Spacefire did that Zeef get past Spacehawk?
I'm afraid it was incompetence.
On whose part?
Space Sergeant 101.
Scrap him.
But Tiger!
No buts.
Spacehawk has been useless for the last 2 seasons. And you're only now scrapping him? 0 and 18 search around the fuel reserves, where young Star is hiding around the corner.
I've noticed you saying it before.
What happened to his voice? 0 then goes to report to Ninestein, and...
We'll keep it as our secret.
This is all a dream, isn't it? 0 and 18 then find a shrunken Hudson in the scrapped remains of 101.
We must find Miss Kestrel. She will have to assume command of Hawknest.
Miss Kestrel!
What do you want?
It was time for Thomas to leave. He had seen everything.
0 then goes back to the main room. What the f*** is happening? They find out a bomb was planted in the fuel reserves, and after 18 gets shot, 0 makes his way in.
This is the end.
If you say so, Tiger.
Then everyone dies. And then 0 wakes up because it was all a dream. All of this was just one dream. This entire episode was just one f***ing dream. That's all this show ever has. If something weird remotely happens, it was all a f***ing dream. Sorry you all had to see that. So yeah, that is every episode of Terrahawks. Yay! Overall, I do think Season 3 is a good season, but also a very chaotic one. And for the show in general, I found it to be a pretty fascinating experience that I'm glad I took the time to watch. The series definitely has its pitfalls, especially in Season 1, but I do think it's easy to look past those and enjoy the show for what it is. However, was the show generally received well? I'd say so. The show was quite popular in the UK and had some demand in the US, and would even spawn some merchandise like figures, vinyl records, and the Zelda mat. Oh my god! Even to this day, the show has its cult following, and would even influence movies like... The show has also gotten an audio drama series of 24 episodes, and even has a reboot on the way titled Kate Kestrel and the Terrahawks. Here are the new Zeroid. Oh. So while the show did frustrate me at a lot of points, Terrahawks was still a really enjoyable experience. But I'm really glad I can move on to something else. As I've mentioned before, the show is available for free on YouTube, but Season 2 was randomly removed recently, so I don't know what's up with that. It's also available on Prime Video, but it looks like you have to have something called Shout TV. What the hell is Prime Video at this point? And while the entire series is a pretty long watch, I'd still recommend it, even if you just watch a couple episodes. In fact, here are a couple that I personally recommend. So on behalf of the evil YouTube executive, I'd like to thank you all for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'm going to now take a 72-hour nap. Take care.
Everybody move to the left!